The multi-sectoral approach is to ensure that we achieve the last mile connectivity to all public institutions. Given the socio-economic parameters of the country, last mile deployment must have a social focus that will see connectivity to main sites such as schools, health centers, community centers, postal points, local municipalities, and police stations across the country. This expansion will see significant expansion in coverage of broadband, not just to these institutions, but directly to the people of Jamaica. Madam Speaker, this deployment of broadband into the nooks and crannies of Jamaica, deep rural, inner cities, outer cities, urban centers, rural towns, will be the single most impactful intervention to eliminate the digital divide that now exists in our country. Madam Speaker, this government will make the access to internet a public good, a public right. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. The aim is to have every household, every community connected by 2025. The clear objectives of the National Broadband Initiative are to achieve universal access, boost adoption and usage, improve quality and coverage of key services such as health and education and more broadly public services, guarantee affordability, promote entrepreneurship and local content creation, create new business models, boost ICT exports, and increase competitiveness. Mr. Speaker, the success of the National Broadband Initiative will require private-public partnership, improvement in various types of infrastructure such as telecommunications and electricity, and greater coordination in the deployment of public utility services. With respect to the public utility services, these critical infrastructures are located within the public rights of way, namely sidewalks and roadways. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, there is no policy, Madam Speaker, is back? There is no policy or legislative framework governing the use of public rights of ways. The MSET and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation will therefore be working together to fast-track the policy and legislative frameworks for the management and use of public rights of way. In addition, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, there is a requirement for the strengthening of the broader policy framework to support the National Broadband Initiative. In this regard, Madam Speaker, we are far advanced in drafting a spectrum pricing policy to support greater access to spectrum at prices that will promote innovation and the use of this scarce resource. Madam Speaker, I want to just pause to say that a lot of this work started before my time. And I want to pay tribute not only to former Minister Favour Williams, but all the previous ministers of science, energy and technology.
Minister.
On both sides.
While you're on your feet, I just want to seek the permission of the members of Parliament to extend the time allotted to you for your presentation. The question before the House is that the Minister be given additional time to finish his presentation.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the member's time be extended by 10 minutes in order for him to complete the
question before the House is that the member's time be extended for 10 minutes to complete his presentation. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, you can continue.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I'll assure the House that I'll not follow the leader of government business's example that he set earlier. Madam Speaker, work is also progressing on the development of the infrastructure sharing rules led by the OUR with the support from MSET, to regulate and manage greater access to existing and future telecommunications infrastructure. Progress is also being made in developing quality of service standard rules to prescribe the minimum targets to be achieved and sustained by telecommunications providers in respect of various technical and customer service quality parameters. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, what do I mean by that? There has to be a minimum standard of service which is given to the consumer and customers by the telecom providers. Right now, it is unacceptable in many cases. Madam Speaker, the estimated cost of the implementation of a national broadband network is preliminarily projected to be $237 million US. The funding options are being explored, but the country can ill afford to delay or abandon this strategy. And I will repeat that for the benefit of my colleague, Minister of Finance. The National Broadband Network is projected to cost preliminarily $237 million. The funding options are being explored, but the country can ill afford to delay or abandon the implementation of this strategy. And I wait to see the minister clap. If the minister hits the table, the Minister of Finance, then I know I'm in good stead. Madam Speaker, allow me to place the financial requirements into perspective. Bridging the broadband penetration gap is expected to generate more than 95,000 direct jobs and will bring Jamaica in line with the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries. An IDB econometric model specific to Latin America and the Caribbean countries demonstrates that on average, countries that increase broadband penetration by 10% have associated increases of 3.2% per capita GDP and 2.6% increase in productivity. Madam Speaker, going digital is therefore key to a sustainable economy. While we pursue the long-term strategy of more immediacy in MSET's role in the national COVID-19 response, there is urgent need for the government to respond to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure that the socio-economic fabric of the country remains intact. The current focus is to see how we can leverage technology to improve outcomes in the educational and health sectors. We are working closely with the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness to prioritize communication needs of schools and health centers. We are taking a targeted approach, given the limits on resources, to ensure that the solutions that are put in place work for as many Jamaicans as possible in the shortest possible time frame. So far, Madam Speaker, we have granted access to additional spectrum to the telecommunications providers with the waiver of spectrum license and regulatory fees associated with this grant with the support of the Ministry of Finance and Public Service. We have waived spectrum license and regulatory fee on VSAT licenses for a period of 3 months to support the Ministry of Education's use of satellite technology to bring connectivity to remote schools. Already almost 100 schools are connected using this medium. VSAT is a small antenna or dish that connects to a satellite orbiting the Earth, delivering high-speed broadband anywhere, anytime. We have negotiated with private owners of fiber optic cables to provide the government with the access to spare fiber strands to assist with the connectivity needs in the parishes. Let me pause, Madam Speaker, to acknowledge in particular the telecommunication providers, Digicel and Flow, who have committed to provide access in support of the national response to COVID-19. Madam Speaker, much more is required. As such, government through its agencies will be implementing 3 major technology initiatives aimed at increasing access to the internet and electronic educational content for students living in rural and inner city communities. The initiatives are as follows. Initiative 1, Digital Transformation Network. The government will be making investments to provide the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica, PBCJ, with the capacity to broadcast digitally over the air using digital transmission technology. The decision is grounded in the fact that the digital broadcast can reach over 85% of households which own a smart TV set. Smart TV sets already have the ability to receive the digital signal without the addition of external devices. The digital transmission system will enable PBCJ to provide multiple channels of educational content on a 24/7 basis. This is in recognition that many of our students have fallen behind and will need many hours of remedial lessons to catch up. For those Jamaicans that do not own a smart TV, all that will be required is an external digital set-top box to allow their existing television set to receive the digital signals. The price of these digital set-top boxes range from between 2,500 and 5,000 Jamaican dollars. The necessary preparatory work are in progress, and we expect to implement and complete this project within the next 6 months. That will be a game changer, Madam Speaker. I see former Minister of Education, Minister Samuda, nodding his head, and I also want to acknowledge him for the work that he did in preparation for what we are trying to achieve now. Initiative 2, expanding government fiber optic cable infrastructure. The government intends to make further investment to provide the PBCJ access to high-speed fiber optic communication backbone to connect with rural cable television networks to facilitate internet-based information being made accessible to students at home using their computers and tablets. Work on this initiative is far advanced, with the National Works Agency working closely with the rural cable television operators to coordinate activities regarding the layout of the fiber optic cable infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, so far 18 out of 34 rural cable TV operators are using the fiber infrastructure to get content from the PBCJ. However, more needs to be done to connect the remaining rural cable TV operators to enable them to provide valuable educational material to their subscribers. And this is what this second initiative will seek to do. Finally, and I know this is the one that will get the attention of my colleagues in the House, Madam Speaker, the government is rapidly going to expand the number of public Wi-Fi hotspots across the country. This is in recognition of our current inability to provide all homes, especially in the rural communities, with access to the internet, which, Madam Speaker, will take time. However, in the interim, we want to ensure that every community has access to the internet, and we can only do this by installing public Wi-Fi hotspots in strategic locations where it is easily accessible by the residents of those communities. The Universal Service Fund, working closely with the NWA and eGov Jamaica Limited, is finalizing the list of locations suitable for public Wi-Fi installations. I will be relying on my colleague members of parliament in the House to send a list with locations in their constituencies that they believe should have public Wi-Fi hotspots. Because of fiscal constraints, Madam Speaker, I'm suggesting that if you could prioritize your top three in that order, 1, 2, 3, then we will see how we can work in terms of whether we can do 1 or we can do 2 or what can happen over the period. But most importantly, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, is the fact that while the USF, through their own budget, has been rolling out these Wi-Fi public hotspots, the Minister of Finance made a very good suggestion, that this was the way to go in the interim to get connectivity. And therefore, based on his suggestion, I would only expect that he would have some funds to assist in widening this program. So I can assure you that I will be working with him closely, and I know he'll send me his list first off. So, Madam Speaker, since assuming responsibility for the portfolio, I have launched 5 public Wi-Fi hotspot locations under the Connect Jamaica program in Chapelton and Maypen in Clarendon, Ocherius in St. Ann, Anata Bay in St. Mary, and Port Antonio in Portland. This brings to 13 the number of public Wi-Fi hotspots across Jamaica. And there is still more in this current financial year, which ends in March, that the USF will be rolling out come January. Madam Speaker, providing connectivity is good, but without ICT instruments, that asset will be largely underutilized. That is why the distribution of tablets to teachers and students is of such vital importance. The program started prior to the pandemic, but the needs of the education sector required a review of the approach to the distribution, which saw us placing an emphasis on distributing tablets to students themselves and not to the educational institutions. So far, the Ministry of Education, in conjunction with MSET, has distributed 23,946 tablets under the Tablets for Teacher program and 34,219 tablets to students under the Tablets in School program. Madam Speaker, the government's investment under the Connect Jamaica and tablet distribution program amounts to $11.1 million, upward of 1.6 billion Jamaican dollars in the time of a pandemic. Madam Speaker. Winding down now with the conclusion, Madam Speaker, a new Jamaica with the access to the last mile. I will end where I started. COVID-19 has dealt a crushing blow to the global economy, setting the stage for one of the worst humanitarian crises ever experienced by the human family. It has ended lives and upended livelihoods. Jamaica, though not the worst hit, has not been spared. While our government has delivered the largest fiscal intervention to assist firms and to help Jamaica recover, this is not a sprint. We are embarking on a marathon to build resilience and achieve sustainability, growth and development. The road to recovery will be hard, but inspiring leadership requires that we bring the Jamaican people to the table as constructive participants in this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build back stronger and better and create a new Jamaica built on the foundation of a digital society. Madam Speaker, how will the national broadband network transform Jamaica? More than 1,500 kilometers of fiber optic cable will be laid to provide access to the last mile. More than 1,000 public institutions connected to guarantee access to the last mile. Universal access to the internet by every household, every community, every Jamaican, and access to the public services everywhere, anytime. Madam Speaker, I commit to use the resources of this ministry and my hard work and passion to help our people hope and dream again as we move to create a new Jamaica with internet access to the last mile for every single Jamaican. And in closing, I'm looking forward to partner with all of the government ministries and agencies, because neither this minister or this ministry can do it alone. So I'm seeking the cooperation and the prioritization of this project. And I cannot use the Prime Minister's name anymore because I'm not in his ministry. But I'm sure that he will give me the support that I need. And with my hard-working permanent secretary, all the members of the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology and the agencies that fall under it, we will deliver, Prime Minister, this dream for Jamaica. Thank you very much.